my friend Mark Cameron, who is the CEO of a company called Alyve. He's going to talk to us about the AI toolbox and building blocks to rethink the problem and the challenge of Prader-Willi. Mark, please come up and blow our minds a little bit.
Thanks, guys. I'm not sure if I've really set myself up for success today, because I did have a speech that I sort of pulled together, and I had all the presentation slides, and then I sat down and I listened to some of the stories last night, both from the speakers and individually at the table, and I decided to throw all of that away and start again with do something completely different. And so, before I start, can I have it just in the room? How many of you here are actually parents or directly impacted? And just keep your arms up if, when you were starting your journey, you felt really frustrated with the health system and found it really difficult to navigate. Okay, cool. So that's kind of a little bit about what we're going to be talking about. The only way I can really do this is actually sort of tell you the story. So about a year and a bit ago, Duncan introduced me to Kath. So as Duncan said, I run a company called Alyve. We're technology strategists, digital strategists, that kind of thing. And I spoke to Kath, and Kath said, look, we've got all these amazing research papers. We want to make them available to our community. How can we do that? Can we, put them up on website? Can we do that sort of stuff? And I sort of thought about it for a while, and I went away and I read a couple of those research papers, and no offense to any of the researchers in the room, but I'm not, the smartest guy in the world, but I'm also not that dumb. And I was reading some of those papers and going, man, this is quite difficult to actually understand and analyze. And, if I kept reading them, I'd get up to a point, but I was trying to put myself in the position of somebody who was just starting to go through that process, just starting to try and understand and get their head around it. And I went, man, this is a bit intimidating. And that's where I went back and I sort of talked to Kath about that and said, look, how about we actually think about a different way of approaching this rather than just having a library of documents? How about we think about a way that we can maybe translate this into a different format? And then Kath told me a story, and she was talking on behalf of parents she'd spoken to in the community, and she started telling me the story of what it's actually like to navigate the health system in these early phases. Because, it's an incredibly complex, issue that we're dealing with. You're going in and out. You as a parent or as a carer, there's something wrong. And you're moving in and out of a system. You're being told that maybe you're imagining things, that you're going in and out. And not only are you having to deal with the issue where you can see and absolutely know there's something wrong, but your confidence is getting bashed all the time. And that having to deal with this, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong, until you get a diagnosis. And then once you get a diagnosis, there's just a laundry list of things that you need to do to be able to manage that. To me, that seemed like an issue that needed to be focused on. And so that's when we started talking about using artificial intelligence, AI, particularly the current version of AI that we've got right now, to be able to help with that. It's not going to provide all the answers. It's not going to change the way the world works. But what it can do is it can take incredibly, incredibly dense, rich pieces of data, of information, even the raw data, and it can translate that into various forms. So it can translate it for a clinician, it can translate it for a GP, for a nurse, but more importantly, for a parent, wherever the parent is on their learning journey, because that is what it is. You're on a learning journey. You have to start by going, I have never heard of this disease before, or this syndrome before, and I now need to know everything there possibly is to know so I can get the right version of care. And more importantly, these technologies can be used to essentially give you the language that you require to be able to have more meaningful conversations with the medical area, with clinicians and so on. So speeding up. And that is the fundamental of any organization in any community, is having a shared language. I remember standing here having a similar conversation earlier, last year, talking at a similar kind of conference, talking about, where AI could go. And I saw it playing out in real time. I saw, everybody in the room all here for exactly the same reasons, but speaking slightly different languages. And that is the wonder of what generative AI tools can actually do. And when I heard that story from Kath, I mean, it really resonated with me. I've never actually told Duncan or Kath this, but I actually have my cousin has a child with Prader-Willi syndrome, and I remember hearing her story about having what it was like navigating through the health system. And so, me personally, what I believe is, and we have a philosophy, a term in our organisation called humankind technology, where everything that we do should be, when it comes to technology, is how does it empower and help humans do what they need to do? And this is a perfect example of how that works. And I think we all kind of have a responsibility to step into that. These tools, these tools are starting to grow really quickly. You hear lots of stuff in the media about them. Yes, there's risk and there's all these kinds of things. But if they're worked on in a particular way and they're focused in a particular way, they're incredibly, incredibly powerful. My perspective of what generative AI is doing in all its different forms is fundamentally changing our relationship with information. And that is, for what that will do for humanity long term, is unbelievably powerful. So, how long have I got? 5 minutes. I probably won't need all the time, to be honest. The thing, I'll just do a little bit kind of like high level stuff here. I mean, while generative AI is sort of a confusing area, I won't go into talking about exactly what it is and how it works. The person who's speaking after me will actually see some of this stuff in real life. But what I can tell you is that while there is a lot of hype around it and a lot of fear and all those sort of things going on, we're following the same kind of cycle that happened, 15 years ago when social media happened, where, it boomed and then there was a big bust, and then there was lots of sort of media saying, we don't know what it is and it's not going to work. And then eventually it matured and it fundamentally changed parts of the way that our economy works. AI is bigger than that, but we're following that same kind of, boom-bust cycle. What I would say is that, this is the innovation platform for the way that we consume information. This is the innovation platform probably for the next decade or two, I would say. And innovation in and of itself is scary. That old term, necessity is the mother of all innovation. Well, this is one of those cases where it is absolutely an absolute necessity to be able to get this right. So I think when we're thinking about how AI is going to be able to be used and impacted, then I just think going back to those areas where how quickly can we help people go on this journey? How quickly can we help people get to grasp with really complex information and help them be able to have more meaningful conversations with the other parts of the health system? That should be the goal. That should be the aim. That should be how do we help the next round of people not have to go through those phases of having their confidence hit, of having to feel like they're not being listened to, they're not being heard. How do we help them be able to have really, really meaningful conversations as quickly as possible? And I think that's fundamentally the power that we've got with these tools. Yes, again, there are risks, there are different ways of thinking about this, but in my view, the benefits far, far, far outweigh those risks. And so, as we are going forward, what you're actually going to see shortly is you're actually going to see how these tools actually work, what this may actually look like and feel like. But what I just wanted to do is just frame that up from that why perspective, because rather than thinking about it as a technology problem, because yes, it's technology, or thinking about it as a risk problem. So, I deal with a lot of organizations, and most of the time they're doing one of two things. One is they don't understand it, so it's all risk, so they're just talking about governance, so basically stopping things. Or they are going, it's all about technology, and they're giving it to technologists to run and build stuff. But it's a human problem. This is about how humans relate to and engage with information. and how we are living our lives in an unbelievably complex way. I mean, even just the fact that Kath was talking about the raise in funding around research papers. I mean, what that means is there is a lot more information coming out for all of you to consume and understand. Are there ways that we can use these tools to make that process of consuming that information and making it relevant for you and your situation easy? And so really that's what I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to give it a high-level overview and just sort of say that, you know, we are working on that to try and make your lives as easy as possible.
Can I just get a quick show of hands? That concept of not having a common language or a common vocabulary to be able to connect all the different parts of the care system. Who does that resonate with? Put your hand up if that concept resonates with you, not having the right words or language to be able to communicate what you need. I think that's very important. I think drawing meaning out of information is fascinating. All right. Sorry, Kath, I've got to tell this anecdote. 15 years ago, I lived in a dirty share house in North Fitzroy. 3 years ago, a friend of mine reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, someone that lived in that share house with me, we just got a diagnosis of Prader-Willi syndrome for our second child. I did some Googling. Your name came up because of the foundation. What can you tell me about Prader-Willi? And I said, nothing. Let me connect you with Kath Jones. And then we hear Mark's story. I didn't know that. I didn't know that Mark's cousin had a child, but that's incredible. Fate and luck is going to be a part of this mission. We just have to work hard to get lucky. That's how this thing's going to happen. It's an incredible story. All right. Now, Mark told you a little bit about the overall view of how the AI Toolbox is going to work. And now I'd like to bring up Steph from Legantic, who's going to talk to us about what that might actually look like and how the technology can build that common vocabulary and language. Okay.